Welcome back to the Well Drop. Today's episode starts with something so simple yet overlooked: water. Our bodies are made up of 60% water, yet most women are walking around chronically underhydrated, not because you don't care, but because no one ever taught us how hydration actually works. In this conversation, we're talking about wellness at home and why the very first upgrade shouldn't be another supplement or protocol. It should be your water. My guest today is Jane Emma, founder of the Goodfor Co., a company rethinking water quality, hydration, and how the systems we use at home impact our energy, focus, hormones, and overall health, especially in midlife. We'll break down one of the top questions I get weekly, which is what to look for in a filtration system, what clean water really means, and the truth about structured water and electrolytes, and how something as fundamental as hydration can quietly change how you show up every day. If you've been feeling low energy, foggy, inflamed, or just off, this episode will help you reconnect with the most basic and powerful wellness habit there is. So let's dive in. If you love diving into the latest wellness secrets on the podcast, then you're going to want to join my exclusive weekly newsletter. Get insider wellness tips you won't hear anywhere else. Be the first to know about my upcoming fasting workshops because let's be real, fasting is the secret weapon for surviving perimenopause. Access my weekly essentials, tools, and biohacks to help you thrive in midlife. I promise to make it worth your while, straight to the point, no fluff, just powerful tips to help you feel your best every single week. Don't miss out. Sign up now at thewelldrop.com. Let's take your wellness to the next level together. Jane, thank you so much for being on the Well Drop today.
Thank you for having me. Very excited.
We are so excited to dive into water. I mean, I am so passionate about water because we are water and we tend to forget and use our common sense when connecting the dots, which is sort of what we're all about here. So tell us a little bit about, let's go back of how did this company even come about and why do you believe hydration is so overlooked?
So this company started out of my own need and necessity. I was pregnant with my daughter. I have 3 children, and I was 25. So I basically went from living your youthful sort of kind of reckless maybe lifestyle to all of a sudden being extremely hyper aware of what is it that I'm doing, what I'm putting into my body, and so on. And so water was one of those things that came across my desk, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I say this often, but it's very true. It's a rabbit hole that I've yet to climb out of. So I've been doing this for 12 years now. And I just wanted clear answers when it came to water treatment. I didn't think that it needed to be this difficult. And it was difficult because I had a bunch of people come and present their products and so on. But what I noticed, what was lacking sincerely, is people's understanding of other products and other aspects of filtration. And that water, for the most part, if you're on city water, for example, a lot of us are dealing with the same problems, but they might show up differently. And at what juncture do you get certain, different kinds of filtration, according to your budget, according to need, and so on. So it's just a bunch of questions that I didn't have answers to or clear answers to. And I felt like kind of just another number to them. So I just decided to change that and do it better. And the name Goodfor, because then I started thinking okay, you start brainstorming your business. And I was just I just want products that are just good for you and good for your home. And then I came downstairs, I was like, oh, we have a name.
Got the name. Yeah, I think especially for my generation, we grew up thinking drinking tap water is fine. Especially I grew up in Miami and then moved to New York, and New York was kind of the epicenter because their bread is better. I guess maybe they have hard water, which your hair was a little bit better than it was in Florida. So just that comparison, the water was always crisper and people thought that drinking tap water was fine. And my first introduction into learning about water quality was when the EWG was doing the quality of your local waters by zip code. And when I looked it up and then you could see all the contaminants, that was a whoa moment for me.
It's a huge wake-up call. I love the work that they do. I think it's such And I try to spread this as far and wide as I can because people are like, I don't have the money for these expensive tests. And I was like, well, lucky for you, there's an entire organization that's already spent a lot of money figuring
Yeah.
this out. So the only downside is that, because they're not listed, for profit business, the results are always a couple years behind. So you're seeing
Yeah.
stats from like 2023 right now or 2021, even in some areas. But unfortunately, water quality doesn't really improve, right? So it's like you can look at those, and if those numbers are scary enough, then it's doubtful that it's made any kind of a change since then.
Yeah, I do think as my husband always thought that I was crazy because at first we upgraded the water in a house and he thought I was annoying until I showed him the website. So I think like for somebody out there who maybe this is the first time you're even hearing about water, like, go on the website, check it out. Check out your
Yeah,
zip
which is
code.
ewg.org slash, I think it's just tap dash water. But if you just go to their website, it's like the second or third thing down.
And so
So
you'll see it. And then
yeah.
for me, even like going out to restaurants, like I always think about how do we shift these like little micro habits. And because we do drink so much water all day long, my husband used to always be like, yes, we will have the tap water at the table. And I'd be like,
No.
nope, we're going to have a bottle of spring. And he would look at me like, you're annoying. I'm like, well, you can
But
have
it
the
changes.
formaldehyde. I don't want it.
No, and it changes. And when you ask them, this is also something I really want to bring to the forefront for your listeners, is there's a significant difference between filtered and purified.
Yeah,
And a lot of restaurants, when you ask
hugely.
them, they'll say, yeah, it's filtered, which just
House
means
filtered.
essentially it's filtered through like a Brita filter, like
Yeah.
a countertop, whatever. So when we're talking about any kinds of heavy metals, pharmaceuticals, anything else like that, a filter is not able to deal with that. Only a purification system is able to deal with that. So yeah, no, I definitely don't drink the tap water pretty much anywhere, but definitely in restaurants, always glass, bottled, please.
And what is purified water?
So purified is something that's going to go down to like ours goes down to 0.0001 micron. So we're talking about things that are like viruses, bacteria, heavy metals, all of those things are bigger and larger. So the
Okay.
membrane in a purification system, quite frankly, just can't push out anything else other than the size of a water molecule. So it's able to really thoroughly take everything out now. And we'll get into this, but there's obviously a downside. Anything good also leaves with anything bad because there's no way to, we're not quite there yet to be able to
And nothing's
differentiate the
perfect.
molecules in the water. Yeah. But, eh, I think, especially with everything that we're up against these days and how often we interact with water, that, fine tuning your water and then remineralizing it and doing everything else afterwards is so important because if you compare 0.0001 to 5 micron, which is what a filtration system does, like a
Wow.
good one.
Yeah.
Usually it's a little bit bigger. Um, it's a big difference. So again, it can handle things like the smell of chlorine. It can handle, reducing some chlorine, therefore some chlorine byproducts. But if you're looking for something that's going to tackle everything across the board in your home, then a certified reverse osmosis, because then we can also touch on, basic
Yes.
systems and what a certified system would do. But a certified system, I mean, it's just going to go so much longer for you and it's going to do so much more for you.
Love that. And so in the era, I always laugh, like growing up, I don't know about you, but everyone walks around with plastic water bottles. And I
Mhm.
always say, like, those plastic, I think people are getting much more in tune with it. I did my breathwork certification back in 2017. And back then, we were eating a credit card size worth of plastic. I can't even imagine what it might be today. And so replacing the water bottles with glass, I think, is a great first step to get rid of the plastic situation with microplastics. That's now kind of a new buzzword that's coming around
Finally, yeah.
finally. But what about hydration? Like, how do people actually get hydrated? Because I think people will drink, in order to be so called hydrated, I think it's an ounce per pound of your body weight or half of that at least. Well, how should people think about hydration? And also, in addition, this whole electrolyte powder craze. Does that
Yeah.
help?
So water, in my opinion, is only as good as the minerals that are inside of the water that help then transport that water that you're drinking into the cell.
Hmm.
So, for example, I work with a lot of professional athletes, and one of the things that I hear back, the most from them, I hear it from others too, but they're the ones that are like pounding that gallon of, water while they're working out, feeling so bloated, feeling like, but they're never feeling fully satiated. So,
Yep.
the mineral balance and having a wide variety of minerals is the best possible. So, you have like your four kind of key, right? Well, electrolytes. You have your sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium. Wow, it took me a second. But then, and so you need those to have water be able to effectively move in and out of the cell. So, I think that with electrolyte packets, a lot of times people are, so I see these TikTok crazes and I see on Instagram too, it's like all sorts of different colored waters and flavors and this and that, the
Yeah.
other. And it's like, the more sugar there is, the more sodium there is in there, actually thirstier you're going to be at the end of the day. And I think that that's like the whole point of these electrolyte, well, not all, the majority of these companies, right? Is they're making it fun and flavorful and whatever. And it's like, to me, it almost equates to like the vapes, you took something like cigarettes and you made them more appealing by making them colorful and
Oh, yeah.
flavorful and whatever, but it's like the same kind of end result. So, um,
Because a lot of
electrolytes,
people will say, "Oh, I can't even drink water. I'm not a water drinker. So unless I put these
yes,
in
I know.
there for the flavor, I can't even get the water down." But I think an interesting twist would be if their water quality is not there, it's not even doing anything for you necessarily anyways. Like it's not getting into
Because it
the
needs to
cell.
transport into the cell itself, right? So you're going to be peeing out a lot of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think electrolytes have their place, right? Like, for example, if you live in a very hot environment and you're constantly sweating to a degree, right? Or if you're working out or if you're in a sauna or whatever it is, some sort of sweat situation, electrolyte packets are good depending on which kind, in the moment to quickly help you rehydrate. But when it comes to like taking it every single
Every
day at every single point, like A, it's a waste of money. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
B, it could be harming you, especially depending on where your hormone levels are at
Mhm.
and all of that. So it's like really just focusing on some basics. The water needs to be clean. The water needs to be remineralized, but not shucked with electrolytes, right? Just a healthy balance. And then, in an ideal world, it should then be structured. And I think that, over the first 7 to 10 days when I added the structuring component, when I added these things to my home, because I have all of them, I test them all out on myself first before we ever carry a product. And I noticed a tremendous difference in, how often I was going to the restroom, the color of my pee, how I was feeling, brain fog. I'm 37. I have 3 kids and a business. Brain fog, I feel like, just comes as like a natural side effect to some of those things.
Yeah.
But but I did feel like it was pretty heavy, and I felt like I was tired all the time, even though whatever. And so, anyways, so incorporating these things, not only did I notice a change, but my kids were even able to notice unprompted, which I thought was the most wild. And I was like, where was my camera when I
Yeah.
needed
Like,
it?
where's the testimonial?
Yeah, exactly. Can you say exactly that with the same enthusiasm? But what they noticed was like, oh, mama, the water tastes thicker and it tastes yummier. And so you have
It's
this like slight
satisfying.
sweetness of these ocean minerals. Okay, so something like the Sango coral that we offer, right, infuses your purified water with over 70 trace ocean minerals. And unlike a lot of other alkaline filters that are out there, because you hear this word alkaline all the time,
Yeah.
okay, the alkaline, the alkaline. So a lot of the feedback that I've gotten, and from my own experience, is that those alkaline filters, first of all, they're made. It's not natural. You know what I mean? Like they're putting these things together, and it oftentimes can taste metallic-y. Some people report that it smells fishy in the beginning,
Oh.
which is like, oh my God, okay, this is like very easily solvable problem. So by using natural coral, there's nothing synthetic in there. It's sustainably sourced, all of that kind of stuff. But going back to the point, the taste and the feel of the water is like second to none.
If you love diving into the latest wellness secrets on the podcast, then you're going to want to join my exclusive weekly newsletter. Get insider wellness tips you won't hear anywhere else. Be the first to know about my upcoming fasting workshops because Let's be real, fasting is the secret weapon for surviving perimenopause. Access my weekly essentials, tools, and biohacks to help you thrive in midlife. I promise to make it worth your while, straight to the point, no fluff, just powerful tips to help you feel your best every single week. Don't miss out. Sign up now at thewelldrop.com. Let's take your wellness to the next level together. And I think that's like what creating the Well Drop Network, really narrowing down the best in class for your wellness at home and starting with your water is obviously my number one thing to begin with. We dive into what is that for people who may not know, like what is a water filtration system? Let's go like solely to the basics, like what makes a good one and also what sets yours apart because you have like the coral you mentioned and the structured water, which to me is a game changer. It's everything all in one. So it's a whole enchilada.
Yeah. So, water filtration, you want to kind of break it down into a couple buckets. So, let's talk about those people that are sitting on city water. I know there's a lot of folks on well, but city is like the most prevalent. So with city water, you're going to be up against chlorine or chloramine or both. So that's number one. It's not an if, right? That's the disinfecting product in
Yeah.
there. So it is in your water. Therefore, there are byproducts. So it's not like a if, it is for
It's
sure.
there.
Just the quantity might, like the severity of it might vary, but it's kind of funny because it's like, okay, the less byproduct you have, you're like, oh, okay, that's nice. But then it almost means that your water is not chlorinated enough. So there's like dangers in it. So there's certain things you want to see in your water, and chlorination has its place. It helped us get rid of really crazy diseases that were
Yeah.
spreading. And New Jersey was the first place in the beginning of the 19th century to like implement it. And that's, so I think it's done a lot of good, but it's kind of like wearing a seatbelt when you come home. Okay. So you take it off, you go in your house and you live your life. So, okay, sorry, a little sidetracked. So when it comes to filtration, there's chemical, there's mineral, meaning hard minerals. So calcium, magnesium, the very same things that are good for us are not good for the plumbing in our home.
Yeah.
And so, you want to have a water softener if you have hard water. You want to have a high level filtration system for the whole home because a couple things that people don't realize, they're like, oh, it seems like it's a nice to have. Well,
Yeah.
it's more than just a nice to have because your shower there's a mixing valve right behind your wall. So you have hot water coming in and you have cold water coming in. So all of that is chlorinated, but then when it mixes, at that point where it's coming out in your shower, it is like the strongest, like in terms of vapor. So you're
Wow.
breathing it in. So not only are you
No one's
bathing
thinking
in
about
it, but you're
that.
also breathing it in. Yeah. And so a lot of
Wow.
people with, eczema or asthma or anything like that, like you're just exacerbating a lot of those things. So,
And also
and
the
I,
fact that like when your water comes out in your shower, it's going straight to your head. We forget our skin is our largest organ. It's going
mhm.
directly in to essentially your brain and your hair follicles. Like it's
And
going right there.
everything.
And
Like,
then
think about when you take your kids out of the pool and you're like, take a shower.
yeah,
Well, what are they showering in?
right, the same thing.
Again, a little bit more chlorine, right? So,
Yeah.
anyway, so having a high performance filtration system is really, really key. And when you're thinking about investing into a system, for me, the three most important parts are this. Number one, certification, because there's a lot of,
There's so much
they
noise.
could be
That's why
great.
we're here.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. But there's,
what are the buzzwords, like the non-negotiables that people should like look into and learn about?
to me, the certifications. So, unless a system is certified and not just NSF, because that's big, it's non leaching components, safe components, but NSF to me these days, it's just like the bare minimum, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of you have to have. Um, but Water Quality Association, Gold Seal, and now a big important distinction. I've seen a lot of companies put on the Water Quality Association membership icon,
This is good. Yes.
which isn't dishonest, but it is extremely misleading because to the
Doesn't
average
mean
person,
anything.
who the hell knows about the Water Quality Association unless you're in the industry? Okay.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just a lot of really sneaky ways to get things past people while making it seem one way when it's another. So certifications means that the system has been sent in, it's been in the facility, it has been tested. There's a certain amount of gallons it's certified to filter, and
Yep.
it's also certified to filter at a certain point. So for example, going back to what sets ours apart. So let's say you're on city water, everything is pretty direct and straightforward. So our most popular system is a dual system. It's whole home filtration and softening. So let's break it down. When you're making this investment, you also want to consider how long or how well it's going to work, but also how long it's going to work and how much it's going to cost you to maintain. Like those are the three things.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a lifetime warranty on the system. Okay. Meaning there's a lifetime warranty on the body, on the valves, all of that kind of fun stuff. But there's also a lifetime warranty on the resin, which is the piece that does the water softening. Resin acts as a magnet and it physically restricts calcium, magnesium from entering the water. And it replaces it with the sodium. That's why you have softeners with the salt. Like that's what it's used for. So that has a lifetime warranty on it, which is not something you find in the industry. It's a very high capacity or high grade resin, doesn't break down over time, and it doesn't interfere with your water pressure. So that's another thing to
That's
take note.
good.
So the less effective and the less good quality a system is, the more you're going to see those problems in those areas. So lifetime warranty on that. And then you have a warranty on the filtration media. And to me, soft water is a huge perk because, but it's not like the main reason why you would invest to me
Yeah.
into a water system. It's the filtration. So where we shine is your standard systems like your Culligans and your Eco Water and stuff like that you can kind of find at Costco or what have you. They can only filter up to a certain point, so up to 1.5 parts per million of chlorine. This system is certified to filter 4 parts per million of chlorine and chloramine. And chloramine is an emerging thing. So some municipalities use chlorine and some use chloramine,
Mm,
but not all media can deal with chloramine. So for the same reason that they're switching over to it, which is because it lasts longer in the lines, so they have
yeah.
to use less of it. So it's cheaper for them too, but it's also harder to get rid of. So having a system that can adequately deal with, again, today's water and today's emerging contaminants and concerns is really important. So,
And what about, just to interrupt for
mhm.
a second, like if someone's like, what does it matter? Chlorine, it's doing some. Like, does it really matter that needs to clean more out?
um, I think you have to think about it. How long do you plan on being alive? Many, many years, hopefully, right? So, and the amount of times a day that you're interacting with just a little bit of chlorine. So, at
Right.
what point
The
does a little
compounding.
bit become, yeah, because
That's
it's just your
great.
body is never fully rid of it. So, maybe it's not copious amounts at any given time. Yeah, I agree. But it's your body it just never has a break. And, when I first got started, I read this study that said that 53% of women with breast cancer had a higher concentration of chlorine in their breast tissue. So
Uh,
pretty much as soon as I read that, I was like, you could
yeah.
tell me anything. Okay. I don't, but it's
That's such
not
a great
negligible.
point. I agree because for me, I always say you can control what you can control inside your house. I believe in living in 80/20, and whatever, if you go on vacation, you're outside, you can't control that, and that's totally fine. But at least your main lifestyle setup is optimized for success. And I always come at it because sometimes people may not do it for themselves, but they'll do it for a loved one and they'll do it for their
Yeah.
children. And the children are the most susceptible. So if you think about it from a compounding factor, from a place that they're born in, and
Hmm.
you're growing them until they're 18 years old, that's a very long time. So if you're going to invest in your home filtration system, to me, it's and cost factor, which we'll get into it, there's not even that much of a difference. Like you might as well get the best one that's out there that is already paying attention to all those details like you mentioned.
Yeah. And something that's going to minimize, and like this is the last point that I didn't touch on is the service. So for, like I said, our most popular model, it can filter 2 million gallons before
Wow.
needing service. So in terms of, I mean, this is as close to a set it and forget it solution as you can get when it
Yeah.
comes to city water and all of that. And so it's like you have this highly effective system that's meant to last you a lifetime. You're not supposed to replace it every 5 to 7 years like you are with other brands. and it's supposed to be incredibly effective. And we do a lot of before and after testing, like lab testing, a lot of our clients. And I mean, it's just a night and day difference. And folks that were like, oh, I have a water system, I think it's fine. And we're
Yeah.
like, well, let's just test it. And they're completely shocked because it boils down to this, the certifications. Because then when I start looking into the system that they have in their home and I go into the website, I mean, our team does digging. So it's not like, oh, I have this. Okay, that's nice. Well, okay. No, no, no. I want to know. I want to know why ours is better. Right. So I do the digging and it's like, on the website, there's no information about any kind of tests, any kind of certifications. How do I know how long it's performing? Who's responsible for what if it's not performing? I recently had a client who spent like $15,000 on a system a few years back. And when we tested it, I mean, it just did not work out. But then I was like, look, I really think that you should be able to approach that company because as much as I'm here to be in business, I also don't believe in like fixing what's not broken. So, I was like, if we can get this working for you again. So I called the company. I mean, we went through a whole gamut and they're like, oh, well, her warranty was 180 days.
Whoa, nothing.
That's 6 months, guys, in case that's 6 months. So when you're making a huge investment like this, you kind of want to know that like, hey, there's,
They're going to be around to.
something behind me. Yeah.
And so tell
So,
me, so this is for the whole house water filtration. What happens if you live in an apartment? How do you think about that?
so apartment, definitely go after the hydration stack, right? So, and in a house, because here, going back to your question, there's filtration and softening for the house.
Yeah,
But then at the point of use at your kitchen, or if you have a bar area, whatever, you want to put a purification system in there. So
right.
our next best performing stack is the hydration stack. And it's comprised of 3 different products, but this is the bundle that like people are the most obsessed with. So it starts with, again, a very highly certified reverse osmosis system. In fact, that model that's part of the bundle has a specific, so all of it is certified, but then it has a specific cartridge that's dedicated to PFAS, pharmaceuticals, and emerging contaminants. So
That's
it's just
huge.
like all the bells and whistles, you
And I
know?
don't think people realize. Can you speak to about how there are pharmaceuticals in our water? I think people don't know that. So I'd like to educate them on that today.
Yeah, there are pharmaceuticals in your water. I mean, look,
And how come? I don't really understand. Is it just because it's how it's all cycled, right? The people say there's
how it's
hormones in the
cycled.
water,
Hmm. Yeah, it's
pharmaceuticals.
just the level of filtration. Again, so we were talking about that 5 micron or 0.001 micron with the reverse osmosis. Like the water going through the city isn't going through a reverse osmosis, to
Right.
my knowledge.
And
Okay.
this
I
is
will say
why
that
it
my
hasn't,
knowledge here is not necessarily the greatest. I stay on my side of the lane, but
as of
because
what
that
you
would
know
just
for today.
that's just what I know for today. Yeah. But, well, I just doubt it because it's very expensive to maintain. Like the city just couldn't afford to do that. So,
Yeah.
so that's why, you heavy metals, trace pharmaceuticals, hormones. Yeah. All of that. But again, okay. It depends where you are. It depends on if you're living, in a city. I think that you're going to have a lot more concentration of stuff like that. Um, but yeah, just making sure that you have a system that's drilling down into all of these areas is just so wildly important. And it's so convenient. So let's touch on the convenience part. So you have the necessity, in my opinion, of, having a purified water source at home for a number of reasons, not just the water that you're drinking, but also the water that you're cooking with.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're using bottled water, I ask people this all the time. I'm like, are you washing your fruits and veggies in bottled water as well? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, okay, so think about how much money you're spending, let's say on brands like Mountain Valley or whatever, which I think is a great company. I think when you're out and about, I still rely on them, like good to go.
During glass, yes.
Yes,
But
yeah.
to replace those waters, that's actually what finally got my husband over the goal line to decide to get a water filtration system because it becomes it inundates you with, like,
Hmm.
replacing them. They're heavy because I like the bigger one, not the smaller. Because the smaller, we were going through it too fast, because we fill up the water bottles for the kids at school. It
Hmm.
goes for everything, and especially that is such a great point, is, like, washing your vegetables and fruit.
Food prep, like we're a big soup family. I'm Eastern European, so that's like the holy grail, in this
Yeah.
house. And like every time I fill up a pot, like I'm just imagining like, okay, how many water bottles would this have taken, And so it's just the convenience of it. It's the efficacy of it. It's knowing that. Now let's talk about kind of like what these water bottles are also exposed to on their travels, right?
The
So
heat.
the heat, it's exposed to EMFs and all of those things. So if you're springing, no pun intended, if you're buying spring water and you're paying that extra dollar, yes, you are getting incredible minerals, and the taste. I mean, it's going to be a better option. But because of the EMF and sitting on the shelves and the transportation, all of that, that liveliness, that life in the water, that is like the reason why you're so excited about the spring water, the majority of it is gone. And so when you have something at the point of use in your house, I always tell people, I'm like, this is quite literally the closest you can get to bringing a natural spring into your house, other than moving to a natural
No,
spring.
exactly.
You're not going to have to deal with any microplastics. You're not dealing with anything. There's no transportation time. There's nothing. It's like from,
And
under
no
your
one is
sink
thinking about the
to the thing.
transportation time, which is a big deal.
It's a big deal. And it's just, and we're just talking about the glass. But if we're talking about plastic, then that transportation time, the leaching that happens, everything. And most of the time, it's not spring water. It's RO water that they say they remineralize, but it's not even remineralized. Oh, how
Yeah.
exciting! Um, it's um, it's just sodium
Yeah.
bicarbonate that they put in there, and that's it.
And so tell me for the hydration stack, what else you have in there that makes it more unique? Because 'cause I'm obsessed
Yeah.
with it.
So, well, thank you. Well, you got to try it, right? So it
Yes,
was just
it's,
like,
like, noticeably different.
yeah. So, okay. So we start with that incredible certified, reverse osmosis system. And then the second part is that remineralization with the Sango coral. So again, natural coral,
Natural
nothing
coral,
else in
that's
there.
huge.
Yeah, the water
And
is
what are
moving through it.
most companies using, just as a comparison so people can understand the difference for
Well, they're putting
remineral.
in a cartridge or
Yeah,
in
in a
bottled
cartridge
water.
when they say it's remineralization.
Well, they'll put calcium, magnesium, potassium, but it's that calcium bicarbonate, like it's these like little balls that they kind of roll
Yeah.
them up
It's a
into.
little bit more synthetic in a sense than.
Yeah. And I read a story, there was this about even alkaline bottled water, like an alkalizing company or whatever. There was this girl, I think she was 10 or 11 in Vegas, and she was poisoned. She survived, everything was
Oh,
okay, but she was poisoned because it was like one day, one of the people that was adding in these minerals, they just went too heavy.
too much, yeah.
But that's so crazy. What? We should be
Yeah.
able to trust that it's going to be okay. So, anyways, so so you have
You
your
have the
natural
coral.
minerals, yeah, and then at the last stage, it's the structuring device.
Yes, and structured water for me, I think will be a big trend coming up. Can we talk about what is structured water and why is this important for hydration?
So structured water, a lot, yeah, I've been hearing a lot about it too. There's Mayu out there, and I'm
Yeah.
like, they're just swirling the water, but okay. Um, so structured water, our body already has structured water. So the fruits that you're eating, all of the foods, all of that already has structured water. So structured water just means water that's more organized. So H2O, just whatever is flowing out of your water right now, yes, it's water, but there's kind of chaotic water molecules all over the place. This adds coherence and structure to those water molecules. And so that thickness, right, or almost that borderline gel kind of taste in your mouth when you're swishing it around, it's because they're more cohesive. And so they're more structured. And so when people are like, well, why is that so important? Well, that's the water our body most readily recognizes. That's
Yeah.
the water that's already inside of us. So it just makes sense that if we're drinking water it's already structured, a couple of things are happening. Our cells are able to move, using the sodium potassium pump, move those minerals in and out more effectively. Um, and the more hydrated we are, the thicker that level of, or that border of easy water. So, easy water exclusionary zone, meaning it's charged, so negatively charged, so it helps kick out things, positively charged. Um, and just helps keep the water inside of our cell
It
and
keeps
helps
things
move water
intact. Like it's
inside. Yes,
yes, it's
yes,
kind of like
exactly.
getting back to science class where you're thinking of a cell and usually you have like the inner cell and then there's like this little border on the outer cell. And so what you're talking about is you're keeping that stronger. And that's what happens. Like where we have viruses throughout our body all the time, where the virus, instead of it getting in the cell and you getting sick, it just kind of like bounces off because it's
Hmm.
so strong and it can't get inside. But that's
Exactly.
because of the structured water being recognized. I'm very into the cellular medicine aspect of things, which makes sense because we learned it as kids, but we somehow it's like gotten off of like being a focus for us. If we just think of things from a cellular level standpoint, and structured
Hmm.
water is
It
something
makes
that our
sense.
cells recognize, and so it's
Yeah.
going to, like, be happy and accept it better. It does totally make sense, but we're bringing up the conversation on purpose so people can actually start to think about these things and understand why they actually matter, and this isn't, like, just some buzzwords of, like, "Oh, clean water." This isn't something that to me, it's actually more of an essential over, getting an interior designer to decorate your home. It's like start with the fundamentals. It should be part of when you're like even building a home or when you move into a new home, a factor that should be considered in the budget rather than it's completely an afterthought. So we just want to reorganize things here at the Well Job to do things in the right order and putting the water first instead of last.
Yeah. And I think that, I go to a lot of biohacking events and longevity, we see all of the latest and greatest gadgets and everything under the sun. But you know where most people are failing? It's in the most basic things, like
Yeah.
the free things. Like I understand what I'm talking about. A water system isn't free. Okay. So let's leave the water out for 1 minute. Go outside before you check your phone and put your eyeballs to the sun, okay? And let the sun set your rhythm for the day,
Yes, Jane,
Put
this
your
is part of
feet
the
on
well
the
drop
ground.
method. Keep
Yeah.
going. Yes.
So put your feet on the ground for, even if you can't do it all the time, I get it. Like we are busy, I understand, but I try. First of all, I spend as much time each day outside as possible. I live in my backyard.
I
I
love
put all
that.
my work out there. I love it. I'm in San Diego, so it's very easy for me to enjoy the weather. But regardless of where you live, just have your eyes meet the sun in the beginning, put your feet on the bare ground, walk around for 5 minutes, do whatever. And then before you start investing into all of these expensive gadgets that are going to make you feel good, first narrow down what's around you and how do you need to reconnect with like just the world as it is, right? And then, yes, selfishly and biasly, I do think that water is like the first thing because, first of all, in the wellness space, not a lot of things you can tell an immediate difference. So, for those of us that are like instant gratification folks, this is like the best place to start.
Yeah.
It's covering so many aspects, and it's one of those things that you invest in that actually impacts the whole household. So it's not just like, oh, I'm getting a new supplement for me. It's like, no, I'm doing this, and like my kids, my animals, my husband, everybody is benefiting from it. So
It's funny. That's a perfect segue. My other question was going to be sort of like, what is the ripple effect within the household of having clean water? Like, what have you seen that maybe would surprise people?
um what have I seen? Well, I have very near and dear to me anecdotal stories of people that, my kids have grown up in this environment already. Okay. So they notice when they go to other places, like, oh, the water smells so weird. I'm like, I know. You're welcome. You know? Um, but anecdotally, from some of my clients, like I have this woman, for example. Okay. This is actually more recent. So she bought a system about a year and a half ago now. And she said that her daughter was dealing with a lot of gastrointestinal issues. They have several other things going on in the family, but nonetheless, like this was one of the things that she was like, we're in the emergency room at the children's hospital 4, 5, 6 times a month
Whoa.
with these gastrointestinal issues. And she's like, and I feel like it might be the water. Now, I don't talk in absolutes. I'm not a medical professional. Like I said, I stay in my lane. But I was like, look, I certainly don't think that dealing with your water is going to do anything but help. I
Right.
don't know how, right? Like tread lightly, but it's definitely a good place to start. She waited a couple months to leave a review. Her and I stayed in touch because I was just curious. I was like, "How are you
Yeah.
guys doing?" And she said that in that time, they had not been. They'd gone to their regular doctor visits, but no emergency visits. I followed up with her right before health span because I was presenting that day and I wanted to use the story. And so
Yeah.
I got her feedback again. I was like, it's been a really long time. How are you guys doing? She said, not one emergency room visit.
No way.
So
Yeah.
I
Those are
hope
the
that
things you're
speaks for
just not gonna
itself.
see out there that fully speaks for itself, and I think that
Yeah.
it's one of those things that water can be the source of so much dysregulation when we're not
Mm.
getting proper water, obviously leading to proper hydration. And that can just like put your body out of sync. That is just such a simple thing. Imagine if it's just your water that you needed to optimize in order to like feel your best and be your best for everyone in the house. I mean, it's so amazing.
It's definitely the baseline. And especially with families with little kids, like, look, I also don't want to, I understand we're all dealing with budget, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's thinking about cost. Now, having a water system for your whole home, at your kitchen sink, all of these things are definitely an investment upfront, but they pay off in so many ways. Even things that people don't think about, like hard water takes 4 to 16 times the amount of soak to sed properly. So even basic things like this, like imagine you're using soap that's not like chemical free, that might have some dyes in it or
Yeah.
whatever. So not only are you using water that's not great, right? That is chemically contaminated, but then you also have like soap that you have to keep putting on that's not, it's just anyways. So
No, that
you
is a
get the
good
point with
point.
the
You
soap.
use a lot less like shampoo and soap. Like you don't need as much. It's so weird, but it is true.
Moisturizer, serums, all of that. Because number one, your skin's not getting dried out by
You're
the
more
chlorine. Number
hydrated.
two, it's not being dried out also by the calcium, magnesium. And then number three, when you're hydrated from the inside out, then your skin looks so much more plump and nice. And a lot of women deal with bloating, right? Water retention, especially as we're getting older. Like water retention is just active hell. So that just means that the water is not making it into the cell and it's getting stuck in that
Yeah.
interfascial kind of area, right? So
Interesting.
having your
Bloating, this will get all the ladies in
yes,
midlife. Like,
but
"What?
it's,
You just had better water?
well,
Potential.
yeah,
Potential, yeah."
potentially, right? Again, I'm not saying it's
Yeah,
a cure all, but I will say that fundamentally, foundationally, it's like the thing we use the most. I think it
yeah.
makes them so much sense to make sure that it's the cleanest that it could be.
So the top 3 things that women should consider for their family when it comes to, like, a water filtration at home. Sounds like the certifications, number 1, for
Hmm.
sure. Number 2,
Yes.
that if you were to start, because everyone's like, "Where would I start?" Definitely probably with the hydration, so probably under your sink so that your
Hmm.
drinking water and cooking water is clean, and then if you're in an apartment, you probably can't do the whole home water filtration, but if you are in a home, you could, or would you just do maybe for the showers, like the shower heads
Shower
and
filters.
sink heads,
Yeah. Yeah. Some people, I also, for the folks out there that call their place an apartment, but they actually have their own water line. Basically, what you need is this:
if your
you
own
need to have
water line.
access to your own water line, pay your own water bill if you're in a building, because when my husband and I, just probably like 7 or 8 years ago, we were moving into an apartment, and he was like, for both of us, it was if we can't put a water system in, we're not moving there. So that was like a big, big
Yeah,
prerequisite. And we were able to do it because we had our own mechanical closet.
no,
So I don't want to say like, oh, apartment immediately means no, because sometimes the word apartment and condo people get mixed up a little bit. So I
it's a good
think,
question for people to ask. Do you have your own water line and access
yeah,
to it?
yeah. But absolutely a good starting place and the best starting place, yes, hands down. Whether you're in a home or you're, in an apartment, whatever, is dealing with the water that you're consuming and cooking with. You'll notice an pretty immediate benefit and upgrade from that. And then, going from there and if you can do both, I highly advise doing both. But, starting with the hydration stack, I mean, it's going to be a night and day difference.
I love that, and we always end our conversations with this question on the well drop, and you sort of already answered it. I promise I didn't pay her to say this about the sun. What's one drop of wellness wisdom you like to leave our listeners with today?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
What is one drop of wellness wisdom you like to leave our listeners with today? In addition to getting sunshine and grounding, but that could be it.
You know what? No, I think intention. I think, and I hear this word thrown around a lot, and I just want to say that personally, for me, intention of like really thinking through, but what is the point of this? So I started putting a filter, again, no pun intended, through every decision that I've been making. So like, what is the intention behind what I'm about to do, say, participate in? So that's my like non-water related kind of thing, is like, I think we all could just benefit a little bit, from being a little bit more intentional with the things that we're doing.
I love that. If this conversation got you thinking about your environment and how that supports your health, you can find Goodfor Co. over at thewelldrop.com. They are a part of the network, which means that they've been vetted. They are aligned with our standards for quality, integrity, and real life impact. If you're curious about what your home actually needs right now, you can schedule a call and get clarity on where to start. Small upgrades in your environment can make the biggest difference, as you've heard today, in how you
Yep.
feel day to day. And as always, thank you so much for being here and for choosing to own your wellness one drop at a time. I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, Jane.
Thank you.